I never thought betrayal would strike me from the inside of my own home. For years, I trusted my wife, Melissa, with everything: my heart, my family's future, even the inheritance money my late father left for us to build a better life. We had been together for almost a decade, and while not every day was perfect, I believe we shared loyalty and love. But trust is the first thing a betrayer steals. It started small. Melissa's absences became harder to ignore. She'd disappear under the excuse of helping a friend or needing some space. At first, I thought it was stress. She'd been moody, sometimes cold, and often dismissive of me and our plans. But the real crack appeared when I checked our joint savings account, the family fund my father's inheritance had created. Over $75,000 was missing. When I asked Melissa, she brushed me off with a rehearsed excuse about investments she couldn't explain. That was the moment my stomach turned. Something far darker was going on. I hired a private investigator. It wasn't easy. My pride screamed that I should trust my wife, but my instincts had been clawing at me. Within weeks, the investigator's report landed in my hands like a death sentence. Melissa had been having an affair with a man named Ryan, a smooth-talking real estate agent she'd met at a charity event. The report revealed hotel receipts, photos of them together, and text messages dripping with desire and intimacy, the kind she hadn't shown me in years. But the most devastating detail? Melissa had secretly given birth to Ryan's child 6 months earlier. She had faked a long trip to her mother's house for recovery from stress, but in truth, she was in a private maternity clinic, using my family's fund to pay for everything. I remember sitting alone in my car, the report in my hands, my world collapsing around me. The woman I had built a life with had not only betrayed me, but had stolen the legacy of my father to raise another man's child. I confronted her one night. My voice shook, but my words cut sharp. "Melissa, whose child is it?" Her face went pale. She tried to deny it at first, but when I threw the investigator's photos and medical records onto the table, her facade crumbled. She sobbed, begged me to understand, saying Ryan was a man she truly loved, that our marriage had become hollow. Hollow. That word stayed with me. She had hollowed me out with lies while smiling in my face. I didn't explode. I didn't scream. I simply told her, "You destroyed everything. Now watch how I take it all back." My revenge wasn't impulsive. It was cold, calculated, and patient. First, I gathered all the evidence: bank transfers, clinic bills, her texts with Ryan. Then I spoke to my lawyer. Divorce was obvious, but I wanted more. I wanted to make sure Melissa and Ryan lived every day remembering the consequences of betrayal. Financial justice. I filed charges for fraud and theft of inheritance funds. Since she had withdrawn the money without my consent, she was legally accountable. She tried to argue it was marital money, but the court recognized it as inheritance, protected under law. She was ordered to repay the entire amount, plus damages. Public exposure. At a family gathering, I laid the truth bare. My relatives sat in shock as I explained how Melissa had stolen from the family and birthed another man's child with the very money my father left us. She had no defense, only shame. Ryan's ruin. I sent the investigators' full report to Ryan's employer and his family. His reputation as a family man and trustworthy agent shattered overnight. His career tanked. His wife left him, and his parents disowned him. Custody battle. Though Melissa begged to keep some connection, I fought for full custody of our daughter, the one we had together before her affair. The court granted it, citing her deception and financial recklessness. Melissa ended up alone, broke, disgraced, and raising the child her affair partner without Ryan's support. He vanished from her life once the pressure mounted, leaving her with the very burden she chose over our marriage. As for me, I rebuilt. It wasn't easy. I carried the scars of betrayal, nights haunted by our lies. But slowly, I turned my father's legacy into something honorable again. I invested wisely, cared for my daughter, and vowed never again to be blinded by false love. Melissa once told me I'd never find the strength to leave her, that she had me wrapped around her finger. But in the end, she discovered the hard truth. The betrayed may bleed in silence, but when we rise with fire. And my fire consumed everything she thought she had stolen. After the court battles and public exposure, Melissa's life spiraled fast. The once polished woman who loved flashing designer handbags and curated Instagram posts was suddenly drowning in debt. Her friends distanced themselves, whispering behind her back about how she had ruined her life chasing lust. Even her own family, ashamed of how she'd stolen inheritance money, cut ties. I heard through mutual acquaintances that Ryan had abandoned her completely, blocking her number, moving to another city, pretending the child wasn't his. Melissa was left with nothing but regret and a baby that reminded her daily of the man who vanished. I'd see her sometimes in the supermarket, hair messy, face pale, avoiding eye contact. She looked years older, as if the weight of her choices was crushing her soul. Once, she tried to approach me, stammering, "Please, can we talk?" I walked past her without a word. Revenge wasn't just about money or reputation. It was about denying her the attention she once took for granted. My healing and rebuilding. For me, revenge wasn't the end. It was a beginning. I poured myself into raising my daughter, ensuring she grew up in a stable, loving home. I refused to let Melissa's betrayal define her childhood. We traveled, explored, laughed, and built new traditions that had nothing to do with the broken woman who once stood in our house. Financially, I grew stronger. I took the remaining portion of my father's inheritance, invested in a small real estate venture, and within 3 years, doubled what Melissa had stolen. Every success felt like another victory over her shadow. But the most powerful revenge wasn't legal or financial, it was peace. I found peace in knowing Melissa woke up every day to the consequences of her choices, while I woke up free. I found peace in silence, in mornings with coffee and my daughter's laughter, in nights where I no longer waited for lies disguised as excuses. Years later, Melissa showed up at my doorstep, thin, tired, with the eyes of someone who had cried too long. Her child clung to her leg, the spitting image of Ryan. "Please," she whispered, "I don't expect forgiveness, but I want you to know I regret it all. I lost everything chasing something that never mattered." For a brief second, I saw the woman I once loved, the smile, the warmth. But then I remembered the nights I sat alone with empty accounts, the sting of betrayal, the betrayal carved into my daughter's future. I nodded once, but my words were final. Regret doesn't fix what you broke. Goodbye, Melissa. I closed the door. Revenge wasn't a single act. It was a journey. It was watching her world crumble while I rebuilt mine stronger. It was knowing she lived with emptiness while I lived with fulfillment. Melissa stole my family's fund, my trust, my peace. She gave birth to a child that wasn't mine and expected me to play the fool.